She is now making it clear there are other women who felt uncomfortable on the set and that they will testify at trial. Now, that would seem damning, but she doesn't really offer any specifics.
Yeah, the public noticed. The public noticed that things were weird and things began to backfire on you, okay? Why do you lie like this, Blake? Why? Why do you do this? Do you understand you are not smarter than the internet? They're both narcissists.
Hey there, my lovelies. Madison here, ready to serve up the hottest Hollywood dish that's got everyone from Beverly Hills to Broadway buzzing. If you thought the drama swirling around Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni couldn't get any juicier, buckle up. It's about to explode like a piñata at a party gone wrong. Because, honey, the biggest red flag in Blake's mega lawsuit, key witnesses are apparently refusing to testify. And let me tell you, that's a neon warning sign so bright it could light up the Strip in Vegas. Picture this. Blake's lawsuit was supposed to be a slam dunk scandal, the kind that cements her as a fearless champion, taking down a supposedly problematic co-star/director. Only it's looking less heroic crusader and more PR fiasco by the day. Legal experts are side-eyeing this entire operation. Insiders are whispering it's thin as a crepe. And Baldoni's team, they're grinning like the cat that caught the canary, armed with receipts that might blow the lid off Blake's entire narrative. So is Blake's case about to crash and burn? Or is there a deeper, more twisted game going on behind the scenes?
They are being so wildly manipulative and dishonest as they have been since the beginning of this entire process.
Grab your popcorn, babes, and prepare for a long, scandalous journey through every scandalous twist, because this drama is just getting started.
And then you're gonna go, as you guys did, and they proved in the background, I want this, I want that. If I don't get what I want, I'm not gonna show up. He has to be put into the basement. So why are you bolding that? Get somebody brighter, seriously.
Before we dish it all, lovelies, pause real quick. Hit subscribe, because the tea I'm serving today, it's caliente and getting hotter, and you know your girl always gets the receipts first. Now, let's spill it. Not too long ago, the entire Hollywood gossip mill was fixated on Blake Lively's lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, her former co-star and director on a project that had fans salivating for more details. The accusations? Enormous. From inappropriate on-set behavior to professional retaliation, painting a picture of a deeply toxic environment. On paper, that's the kind of scandal that can flatten someone's career in a heartbeat, right? At first, the public bought into it. I mean, come on, this is Blake Lively, the actress famed for that effortless sense of style, the comedic banter with her equally comedic husband, and that polished yet relatable vibe. She's the Instagram darling who can rock a red carpet and crack jokes like nobody's business. So if she says she's a victim, the world leans in, hands her a mic and says, "Spill, queen." But oh my, how the tides have turned.
So it's unbelievable. They are being so wildly manipulative and dishonest as they have been since the beginning of this entire process that they are literally mining clips on the internet, taking them out of context so that they can produce a narrative that reads like a script to us.
People are now side-eyeing the entire lawsuit, claiming it's feeling more like a desperate PR ploy than a legitimate call for justice. Because instead of undeniable evidence, we're getting vague claims, half-baked stories, and a handful of witnesses who, plot twist, want nothing to do with testifying. The big question is, what happened? Why are fans and insiders suddenly going from Team Blake to, not so sure?
The context of that exchange shows that they're out there combating lies.
According to Hollywood's rumor circuit, folks expected a huge bombshell. Think screenshots, behind-the-scenes footage, maybe personal diaries or scathing confessions from her co-stars. Something that definitively proves Baldoni's wrongdoing. Instead, the evidence is suspiciously thin. The allegations are padded with suggestive language, but no real punch. And the so-called key players are backpedaling like they stumbled into the wrong set. The meltdown is real, y'all. This was supposed to be the kind of lawsuit that dominated headlines for weeks, but it's turning into a cautionary tale about overplaying your hand. And every day that passes, it looks more likely that the entire thing might collapse under its own weight. When you launch a blockbuster lawsuit in Hollywood, especially one about serious allegations like on-set harassment, the first thing the public wants to see is, where's the proof? Typically, we see insiders stepping forward, cast and crew airing their horror stories, scathing text messages hitting the press. But in Blake's scenario, we've got an unusual twist. The big witnesses are apparently refusing to even show up.
The public noticed. The public noticed that things were weird and things began to backfire on you, okay?
That's not just a minor snag, it's a neon sign screaming that something's off. If you truly had a rock-solid case and your experience was horrifying, wouldn't your coworkers be eager to back you up? If they believe the allegations, you'd expect them to line up, ready to testify, eager to hold the accused accountable. But what we're seeing is the opposite: radio silence or outright refusal. Speculation runs wild. Maybe these witnesses never agreed with Blake's version. Maybe they don't want to risk perjury, or maybe they feel pressured to say something that doesn't match their recollection.
Now, that would seem damning, but she doesn't really offer any specifics.
Either way, it spells trouble for her claims, because no high-stakes Hollywood lawsuit can survive if crucial supporters bail out at the 11th hour. Here's the real killer. So far, Blake's entire case seems to hinge on "just wait, we'll show you." But when is that magical reveal happening? Usually, a scandal of this magnitude has some meaty leaks by now. We'd see glimpses of emails, recordings, or direct testimonies. Instead, it's a swirl of, we have people who back us up, except none are stepping forward. It's like a rerun of the same script. Unnamed crew members say, or witness X was traumatized, but zero formal statements. That kind of shadowy approach only fuels the rumor that maybe the case is weaker than we were led to believe. Fans are starting to say, "Girl, if you had the goods, you'd have dropped them." And the meltdown intensifies. Some corners of the internet claim that Blake's team has been nudging or pressuring folks to corroborate her story. If that's true, it's a risky gamble, because it's one thing if people freely stand up for you. That looks authentic. It's another if you're twisting arms to create a narrative. That's not just tacky, it's legally precarious. If those supposed witnesses fear they'll be forced into lying or exaggerating, they might refuse altogether to protect themselves. This meltdown is unstoppable because it looks to outside observers like the entire foundation of Blake's case depends on reluctant participants. And if no one wants to stake their credibility on her claims, then we're left with empty accusations. Meanwhile, Baldoni's side is chuckling behind closed doors, knowing every day that passes without real testimonies is a victory for them. In a typical Hollywood scandal, real victims don't need to strong-arm coworkers to validate their experiences. The witnesses come forward organically, outraged by the wrongdoing.
The reason why she's setting this up is she says, now I have to take steps to protect innocent bystanders rather than exposing them to further harm, because she's now using this to explain away why no one's joining in on her lawsuit. Okay, they're setting that up right at the beginning. Essentially, no one's going to join in, but just so you know, this is to protect them.
The meltdown here is that Blake's big show might be unraveling. If she's chasing people for statements they're unwilling to make, it undercuts the whole "I'm telling the truth" stance. And ironically, the more she pushes, the more suspicious it looks. While Blake's case seems to hinge on airy promises, Baldoni's camp is apparently waving around actual receipts. We're talking text messages, emails, maybe on-set video. Let's recall that in prior high-profile Hollywood lawsuits, once that kind of evidence emerges, the tide shifts instantly. People see the black and white proof, and any illusions get shattered. If Baldoni's side is about to drop a bombshell that contradicts Blake's allegations, oh girl, this meltdown might go nuclear real fast. Even more telling, where are Blake's big Hollywood friends championing her? Typically for someone so beloved, you'd see celebrities rallying behind her, tweeting, "I stand with Blake" or something. Instead, we're getting crickets. Plus rumors that some supportive statements were forced or half-hearted. Meanwhile, Baldoni's side is forging alliances, or at least not pushing people away. If his credibility remains intact and he indeed has smoking gun materials, that's a lethal combo for Blake.
Saying all that the fact that they got this is false, that they engaged in criminal alteration, it's false.
You made the allegations first, and then you tried to make input and change the direction of the film. Are you saying that the chicken had to come before the egg? Yes, sweetie.
What do you want men to take away from this film?
I want men, first of all, I want men to stop asking the question, why do women stay?
Yeah.
Right? I want men to take accountability. I want men to hold other men accountable.
They're just pulling this clip out of obscurity. So what are we to assume that he's speaking about? Well, it turns out he's speaking about his character, Ryle, and they're asking him a question in the context of domestic violence.
Let's get real. Hollywood tolerates drama as long as it sells tickets. But a lawsuit that might blow up in the claimant's face, that's a disaster no studio wants to touch. If Blake's meltdown escalates and her case collapses in spectacular fashion, producers and executives will question whether she's worth the trouble. Is she going to bring a storm of negativity on set? Could she turn future spats into more legal fiascos? That's not what big studios are looking for, sweetie. Remember, name recognition only goes so far. We've seen top-tier stars dethroned by controversies that rendered them poison at the box office. If this meltdown continues, Blake might be next on that unfortunate list. It might be career-ending, because once Hollywood deems you a liability, those calls slow to a trickle. Let's hypothesize. Suppose Blake somehow ekes out a technical victory in court. The damage to her reputation from this meltdown might be irreversible. Fans are already side-eyeing her alleged attempts to force a narrative. If the lawsuit doesn't reveal jaw-dropping evidence, people will assume it was all bark, no bite. Meanwhile, Baldoni, if proven innocent or partially vindicated, becomes the real winner in the court of public opinion. And that can be deadly for Blake's brand. We've all seen Hollywood controversies where the tide flips once details emerge. Early on, fans cried out, "Poor Blake," but now we're in a sea of skepticism. People are noticing the lack of receipts, the refused testimonies, the confusing no real witness scenario. They're also asking, if Baldoni was truly that terrible, why aren't crew members or co-stars stepping up willingly? Because we know how quickly people leap to support legitimate claims, the meltdown vibe intensifies as fans weigh the discrepancy between big talk and minimal proof. Social media is abuzz with this phrase, "Where are the witnesses?" People are mocking the entire fiasco with memes about empty chairs in a courtroom labeled witness 1, witness 2, etc. And comedic as it is, it's a huge problem for Blake's side. Because if your narrative is we have so many people behind us, but not a single one stands up publicly, the meltdown commentary is unstoppable. The brand is taking a beating. Some sources hint that Friedman's been throwing subtle shade in interviews, insinuating that Blake's lawyers are flailing. He might say something like, "We'd love to see their star witnesses, but they seem to have vanished." It's a classic attorney mic drop that fosters the meltdown narrative. Your so-called key testimonies, nowhere to be found. Friedman doesn't even need to leak Baldoni's evidence yet. He can wait for the final showdown in court, letting Blake's meltdown build in the meantime. Friedman can also insinuate that Blake used her star status to escalate a minor dispute into a sensational lawsuit, hoping to bulldoze Baldoni. If Friedman can paint her as an overreaching celeb who tried to destroy Baldoni's reputation with flimsy claims, the meltdown cements. Meanwhile, Friedman's entire approach is, we have real receipts, just you wait. That sets up a ticking time bomb for Blake, because if Friedman's hints are accurate, it might be game over when he reveals them. If these witnesses keep backing out, if Friedman reveals contradictory evidence, if the judge dismisses the case or it ends in Baldoni's favor, then the meltdown might not just tarnish Blake's name, but incinerate it. She'd be the actress who cried wolf, someone who claimed serious allegations but couldn't back them up. In an industry that already punishes scandal harshly, that's a career minefield. Moreover, it'd be moral victory for Baldoni. He'd not only clear his name, but emerge as the underdog who overcame a high-profile attempt to ruin him. Hollywood loves a redemption arc, so ironically, Baldoni might come out more respected. Meanwhile, Blake might watch her phone stop ringing for major projects. Yes, meltdown indeed. Don't forget, Ryan Reynolds stands side by side with Blake, at least publicly. If the meltdown hits her brand, it could splash onto him. They're a package deal in the media's eyes, known for comedic banter and couples' goals. If she's discredited, he might face scrutiny for fueling any PR spin or supporting her claims. The meltdown can quickly become a joint fiasco for them both. So the stakes are high not just for Blake, but for the entire lively realm. Some speculate that maybe this lawsuit started as a strategic way to sabotage Baldoni or seize control of a project, and it spiraled out of control. If that's true, it's a cautionary tale. Don't manufacture drama without airtight evidence. The meltdown we're seeing might be the result of a poorly executed plan to control Hollywood narratives. Except it backfired. Exposing the emptiness of the claims, the meltdown is unstoppable because any attempt to pivot the story now looks like desperation. Hollywood is full of power players with hidden agendas. Some folks wonder if bigger forces encouraged Blake to file suit, hoping to block Baldoni's rising influence, then let her take the fall. That's speculative, sure, but it's not unheard of in an industry famous for behind-the-scenes alliances. If so, Blake might be a pawn in a grander game. Or maybe she's the one who orchestrated everything. The meltdown unfolds in real time, leaving fans and insiders guessing about the deeper motivations. We can't forget that eventually someone's got to appear in court, or at least depositions. If the meltdown continues and these key witnesses remain AWOL, Blake's team might scramble for last-minute replacements. Friedman, on the other side, might roll out bombshell evidence and watch the meltdown peak when the media leaps on every contradictory statement. Expect more swirling rumors as we edge closer to any major hearing date. Some say it could be months from now, others say it's further off. Either way, the meltdown grows day by day. Often, high-profile suits end in hush-hush settlements. If Blake's meltdown intensifies and Friedman is confident in victory, maybe she'll settle to salvage whatever's left of her public image. But if Baldoni wants a public exoneration, maybe he refuses to settle. That's how we get the ultimate meltdown scenario. A public trial exposing every awkward detail, and that would be an absolute Hollywood circus. So, meltdown guaranteed. A quiet settlement might be her only chance to avoid an even bigger fiasco. But would fans see that as an admission of defeat? Possibly. Tricky situation. All right, babes, let's talk about your thoughts on this meltdown. Do you think Blake Lively's lawsuit can survive if none of her key witnesses will testify? Is Justin Baldoni about to drop receipts that obliterate her case? Could this meltdown overshadow everything else she's done in Hollywood? Sound off in the comments because I want all your hot takes. Smash that subscribe button because, baby, the drama I'm about to spill, we're not done. Let's see how this fiasco reveals more cracks in Lively's story. Ever since the Me Too movement shook up the industry, the public is hyper attentive to accusations of harassment. Typically, if someone claims to be harassed or dealing with a toxic environment, we see overwhelming evidence or witness testimonies. But here, the meltdown narrative is that Blake's big claims stand on shaky ground. If her allegations fall flat, it risks undermining legitimate survivor stories, giving ammo to cynics who say, see, people make stuff up. That's partly why folks are furious, seeing this meltdown as harmful not just to the individuals involved, but to the broader movement for accountability in Hollywood. Friedman might argue that the meltdown is revealing how some celebs manipulate Me Too narratives for personal gain. And that's a bold statement that can cause waves in Tinseltown. With so many big star controversies in recent years, fans are learning to wait for concrete evidence. The meltdown we're seeing is a prime example of how quickly sympathy evaporates when that evidence never surfaces. You can't just rely on star power to anchor your claims. This meltdown could accelerate a shift in how fans approach new allegations from big names. No proof, no belief. Even if the lawsuit fizzles out in a quiet settlement or gets dismissed, the meltdown might have long-term consequences. Some producers might place her on a do not cast list for fear of future fiascos. Branding deals might slip away, worried about negative press overshadowing them, and all because her once reliable image has taken a massive hit, further hammered by the notion that key witnesses bailed on her. Ryan Reynolds might also share that fallout. We can't ignore that he's widely beloved, but if the meltdown tarnishes their brand as a couple, projects may proceed more cautiously around him. Nobody wants a storm overshadowing their movie. That said, Ryan's comedic empire might rescue him if he distances himself at the right time. Will he stand by Blake or pivot for brand survival? That's the question fueling more meltdown rumors. Often people say innocent until proven guilty, but in Hollywood's meltdown culture, it's guilty if your meltdown is too big. If fans see the meltdown as proof this was a sham, Blake's reputation may not bounce back. Even if she tries a redemption arc later, the meltdown might overshadow it for years. Let's not forget how quickly the internet can bury a star with memes, jokes, and hashtags. The meltdown train is unstoppable once it leaves the station. All right, babes, we've dissected this meltdown from every angle. Blake's lawsuit was hyped as the next Hollywood bombshell. Key witnesses have ghosted her, unraveling the entire case's credibility. Legal experts are side-eyeing the suspicious lack of proof, while Baldoni claims to have actual receipts. The meltdown intensifies as more people see this as a desperate PR stunt. Friedman's possibly drooling at the chance to rip her claims apart in court. Fans and insiders are turning on her, worrying this might be an attempt to manipulate public sympathy. The meltdown could nuke her career if the final verdict is that she lied or inflated everything. Baldoni, ironically, might come out smelling like roses, championed by the public who see him as wronged. So now, are we on the cusp of seeing an entire Hollywood downfall? Could this fiasco overshadow the entire second half of her career? Or is there a chance she'll salvage some dignity with a last-minute ace up her sleeve? Honestly, at the rate witnesses are fleeing, I'd bet on Meltdown City. Population Blake. But hey, in Tinseltown, stranger comebacks have happened. We'll have to watch and see. Now, before I expose even more tea, do your girl a favor and hit subscribe, because trust me, honey, what's coming next? You're gonna need a seat and a fan, because Hollywood meltdown stories have a way of going nuclear right when you think they can't get worse. If Blake Lively hoped this lawsuit would prove her the shining hero, it might do the opposite. Hollywood's appetite for scandal is big, but so is its appetite for real evidence. Without those key witnesses stepping forward, her entire narrative is on shaky ground. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's team is playing it cool, apparently armed with actual proof. That, my darlings, is the perfect recipe for a meltdown of epic proportions. Stay tuned, because this drama is definitely not done simmering yet. I'm Madison Starr, reminding you to stay messy, stay curious, and never trust a scandal without receipts. Let me know in the comments whose side you're on, Blake's or Baldoni's. And do you think these missing witnesses are the final nail in the coffin for her case? Spill your thoughts, babes. I'm reading every single one. Until next time, keep that tea piping hot, and I'll be here serving up the latest in celebrity chaos.